Welcome to This Endorian Life, a Star Wars podcast from the Radio Meanwhile Network. My name is Stephen Rudd.
I'm Nick Gunning, and we're talking the Ewoks, from Return of the Jedi to the Ewok TV movies, the 80s cartoon, and beyond.
Today we are starting Ewoks Season 2, also known as the All-New Ewoks, with Episode 1A, The Crystal Cloak, which originally aired September 13th, 1986.
Yeah.
1 year later.
Almost a year later. Yeah,
now.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, Steve, I have to say, I'm puzzled at what they identified as the problem with Season 1, because they kept the creative team, but got rid of the cast. I just don't understand that.
It's... They, whatever they changed, I don't think they hit the right mark.
No, it's
they
like...
still missed. Even worse.
Right. It's like the voice of Tebow was not your problem. It's like we're having the same, producers and writers. It's crazy.
Ooh, yeah, crazy. Even Chief Chirpa was, the first person to talk, and I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
No. Nope, that was a mistake.
I agree. I agree.
Not that I just got used to the Chief Chirpa from before, but...
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. He was way better.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like I really should remember his name.
Yeah.
He's the one who's still working today. He still works today. They got rid of the guy that's literally... I don't know who the new guy is.
I don't know.
We're going to go over that.
I don't know what they were thinking with this reboot. I really don't.
Yeah.
I really don't. All right, let's look at the cast and crew a little bit, and we can talk about it more. This episode was written by Paul Dini, so back for more.
Yeah.
The writing is just so bad on this show that I feel if you're going to bring this back as a revamp, the number one thing you do is get a new writing staff. You know?
There's still glaring plot holes.
Yes,
glaring.
And it doesn't. It's just, I don't know. We've only seen one episode, and I feel like we're spoiling how we feel about it. But
but this is the intro.
Exactly.
This is supposed to the new Ewoks, and it's not new. It's the same stuff, just looks different, sounds different.
Yeah. Really strange. Anyway, written by Paul Dini. We do have a new director. Dale Schott is the director here. Mm-hmm. Prior to this, he had directed Care Bears 2, A New Generation.
Yeah. Care Bears.
Long history in television and animation. Writing credits right up until our time of recording on shows like Super Wings and the Hotel Transylvania series. So Dale Schott still very much working in the game as our new director.
Super Wings is good. My kids like that show.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta say, Steve, I never thought I'd miss that Taj Mahal theme, but man, do I.
I miss it.
We've got a new theme song by Patrick Gleason. Patrick Gleason has done other, film and television score work as well as just having, albums out there. He has one called Patrick Gleason's Star Wars, and it is all just I don't know, electronica, synthy pop versions of...
In pop.
Yes, of all of the Star Wars, the Han and Leia theme, the Cantina theme. I have it on vinyl, and it is crazy.
It's a psychedelic experience, man.
Crazy. So, I really feel like if they had just not had lyrics and it had just been the instrumental, we'd be so much better off.
I don't know. You remember the show Denver the Last Dinosaur?
Oh, not enough to discuss it.
That show. I mean, that has a fun theme song. My wife loves that show, or loved it when she was a kid, and now that's her ringtone when she calls me. But that's such a wild theme song, and it's just well, it just kind of works.
Yeah.
Right? This, you can... I feel like they tried to make that mid-'80s kids cartoon theme song, and they tried to make it cool, but they completely lost who they were, and now the theme song is totally disconnected. And I realized just how much the Taj Mahal version still fit the kind of Ewok-y, that it's an alien planet.
Yeah.
Right? They tried to make this theme song seem Billy, he lives down the street, and it's no, we're on Endor.
I know.
There's nothing alien about the theme song at all.
And it's also not really appealing to kids, I don't think. I mean, it's all these strange dissonant harmonies and just I don't know. Mistakes were made is all I know.
It was like they sold the house with Taj Mahal before like buying, before having to buy it,
Yeah.
before planning to buy the new one, and they were like, "Crap, we need to buy a house."
Yeah.
Gleason, let's go.
I
What do you
don't.
got? Give us something good.
This is supposed to be after they've had a year of the Droids and Ewok Hour and being like, okay, what works, what doesn't work. Let's start from scratch. Let's do this again. But it still feels just as like, oh crap, we got to get something on paper quickly.
Yeah.
It was mind-boggling to me. Anyway, these episodes, of course, released on Disney Plus, which is where I'm watching them. No DVD release for anything in second season, as we mentioned with Asha. That episode was the last of the DVD releases. But it was included on the VHS compilation Ewoks 4, Wicket's Adventures as he becomes a warrior. What a smooth title that is.
It's like a short synopsis is
Right.
the title, actually. Like,
Yeah, yeah. If your title is a run-on sentence, you've made a mistake.
that's yeah, mistakes were made. You said
Totally
it. They were
new
made.
cast. Totally new cast.
Yep.
So we have Denny Delk as Wicket. We have Gene Reynolds as Nisa. James Crana as Tebow. Sue Murphy as Latara. Esther Scott as Shadu. And Rick Kamina as Chief Chirpa, the lesser Chief Chirpa.
Yes.
I'm
Yes,
just gonna,
absolutely.
again, exposing my hand here, but I'm just gonna say nobody on the voice cast is better than they were in the first season.
Nobody. That is absolutely correct.
A downgrade across the board.
Even to Shadu.
Yeah.
Shadu, I was just like, oh man,
Yeah.
yeah. When she was like, "Yay, that's my son," or something like that, and I was just like, "Oh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
What happened?"
So weird. It's so weird.
Yeah.
And the sound design was really bad. We're getting so ahead of ourselves. You know what? Hold on. I'm going to give
Yeah.
you the featured cast member. We'll get to all that in a minute.
Yes.
Featured cast member this week, I thought we'd talk about Denny Delk, who is taking over the voice of Wicket from Jim Henshaw. So this was Denny Delk's first foray into the Star Wars universe, but he has an extensive history with doing Star Wars voice work, particularly for the games. So here's some of the games that he did voice work in. Star Wars Rebel Assault, TIE Fighter, Rebel Assault 2, Dark Forces 1 and 2, the Star Wars Trilogy Arcade, Rogue Squadrons 1 through 3, DroidWorks, X-Wing Alliance, Star Wars Early Learning Activity Center, Battlefront 2, Empire at War, The Old Republic, and, for another little Lucasfilm tie-in, he also did voice work in Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis.
There you go. That's a lot of. I mean, I own most of those games, if not all of them.
So you've heard Denny
Like, I don't-
Delk.
Apparently, I have. So now I'm really curious as to what voices he was in those games. It's like I did like a Humble Bundle
Oh, okay.
a couple of years
Okay.
ago and bought like it was like a 40 game bundle of like
Yep.
every Star Wars game ever. So I bought that, and
Yeah, well,
now I own all
he
the games.
narrates
I
quite a
don't.
few of them, so I'm sure you've heard the voice.
Okay.
And I feel like,
Wow.
again, and we kind of talked about this in season 1, but I do kind of feel like they're pitching his voice up or speeding it up or something.
They are.
It seems like there's something on top of it.
I'm curious as to why they didn't spring for like teenage voice artists.
Yeah,
Like,
right?
just why couldn't they have gotten like 4 teenagers, right?
Yeah.
Tebow, Wicket, Latara, and Nisa, and just made those like the longer speaking characters, and then stuck with like Weechie and like just I don't know, mess with the other voices
Yeah.
however they wanted,
I
but
agree.
they're still adults. Like so, like yeah, like instead of pitching up, because they if we figured that they pitched up in the first season.
Yeah, I think
for
so.
Wicket, but this it's very obvious they do. He almost sounds bubbly in his voice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and while Jim Henshaw, like I said, I mean, he wasn't like knocking my socks off as Wicket, but he at least had he was bringing something. I just feel like, at least in this first episode, Denny Delk, it just feels like a really dry adult man reading Wicket's lines, sped up. It's weird. I don't get it. But
I don't get it.
we got to move on. We got to keep going.
Let's go. Let's do it. Let's go right into the uber detailed plot.
Okay.
Let's go through that before we start taking it apart. All right, uber detailed plot of the Crystal Cloak, season 2, episode 1A. We open the first episode of the second season to Wicket receiving his belt of honor from Chief Chirpa. This belt is part of his path to becoming an Ewok warrior. During Chirpa's speech, Wicket's mind wanders off and he imagines himself saving his friends from danger in the village. He snaps out of it when Chirper pins his already awarded silver feather to his belt. His new belt, I should say. Wicket is told it will take some time to become a warrior, but believes he can do it in no time. Elsewhere in the village, Teebo struggles with magical levitation, but fails, suddenly letting everything crash to the floor. Latara comes running in crying to Teebo to fix her crystal. She flirts with him to fix it, but he admits he can't. He's just not good with ladies. Before she runs off mad, Teebo is reminded of the Crystal Cloak, a cloak long since stolen by the Graka of the Floating Mountain, and whoever wears it can turn anything into crystal. Only a great warrior can get it back. Hint. Latara employs the help of none other than Wicket, and they both take gliders to the Floating Mountain, the home of the Graka. After they crash land on the island, Latara is startled by a crystal statue that's actually some sort of beast that's been turned to crystal. Latara tells Wicket it was the Graka, and he is stunned since it's the first time he's heard of, and quote, the terrible Graka. After they walk away, a tiny plant helicopters away and alerts the Graka of the Ewoks' arrival and intention to steal the Crystal Cloak back. The Graka pets the plant, thanking it, and accidentally turns it into crystal. Frustrated, he lost another friend. He tosses him into a pile of other friends he accidentally turned into crystal, and then flies off to meet the Ewoks.
That is hella dark.
I know. When that happened, I was like, the freaking pile of... I was like, man.
Yeah, he's just sitting there in a crystal palace surrounded by the corpses of his friends.
It just became the queen from The Lion and the Witch and the Wardrobe. Just like a freaking castle of stone statues.
Yeesh.
Yeah, right? So we're almost done. The Graka finds Latara and Wicket roaming the mountain and sets a crystal spell on the land. Suddenly, tree-sized crystals emerge from the ground and begin to shatter, causing an avalanche of sharp crystal pieces hurtling towards them. They escape when Nisa picks them up with her glider. Her and Teebo followed them to the mountain. Conveniently, the Graka confronts the whole group. Wicket demands he return the cloak. The Graka responds by turning Wicket's stick into crystal. The Ewoks run away, and the Graka pursues them. When the Graka flies close enough to them, Nisa uses her lasso, which catches on the cloak, tearing it off the Graka. Unfortunately, it floats away and lands in the lava moat, the one surrounding the floating island, and explodes violently. Furious, the Graka chases Wicket and accidentally flies into his own crystal fortress, causing it to come crashing down on him, trapping him underneath.
Dark.
Yeah, right? Nisa praises Wicket for his bravery. He was running away. The Ewoks take their gliders home along with their crystals. Wicket with a crystal for his belt of honor, and Latara's crystal to replace her broken one. Latara struggles to fly hers home as she decided she wanted the Crystal Beast statue from earlier. Roll credits.
Here's a question I have for you. The Crystal Beast, is that just a dead beast that the guy turned into crystal?
They never found out, right? Like,
I mean, I have to assume yes.
Yes,
right?
I think it was. Yeah, absolutely was, because it looked like... It looked at when he turned the stick, right? The stick in that little helicopter floating plant, which was actually really cool. I kind of like that thing. It turned into crystal, looking like its original form, but just in crystal, right?
Exactly.
So we have to assume that beast is just a beast, was a native beast to the floating island,
right?
Or the floating mountain, excuse me, and it was turned into crystal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, right off the bat, I'm not going to say that this was my Kavark moment, but it was, why didn't they just take that crystal and go? I mean, the whole point of them being there was like, oh, I need a crystal, and then like they crash land on the island, and they find this crystal beast.
Right.
Why didn't they just take it? Why didn't they just take it then? Because at the very end of the episode, she ended up taking it anyway. It was the very first thing they saw on the island. So I'm like,
don't recover the Crystal Cloak. It's not like they get it back.
They don't. Yeah, and I was actually really hoping that like when the Crystal Cloak was destroyed, that everything it turned to crystal came back to life, but it didn't,
Oh,
and that was
yeah.
really dark.
Yeah.
Because well, we didn't see it, right? We didn't see if it happened or not until the very end when she's carrying that crystal beast, and I
Right.
thought, it
Yeah.
would have turned back to an animal if the magic
Yeah.
had stopped. So no, they're dead. That's it.
Yeah,
That
that's
is a
it. That's
pile of
it. Our
corpses.
little
And
our
his
little
focus.
helicopter man still dead. I also thought when the cloak falls off and it like lands in the lava or something, I thought there was gonna be a thing where it turns into like a crystal lake or something like that, or like something goes on. But no, the cloak just
That
falls
would
into
be
the
cool.
lava and it's just that's it. So like
Just it explodes. And why did
yeah,
she let go of her lasso? Like
I don't
she could have just thrown a rock.
I don't know.
Like
And it's like they didn't they didn't end up with the crystal cloak. I guess they just didn't want the Graka to have it. And apparently he's turning the whole forest into like a little crystal sculpture. So maybe their instincts
it's
were
good.
right. But
Yeah, it's good at least.
just a real
yeah.
head scratcher. When we started and whatever Chief, like cut rate Chief Chirpa is putting on the belt on Wicket, and he's like, all right, now you have to go and earn your stripes or whatever. The feather that he got is from the first season, right? Didn't he get that for like the Tree of Life?
For bravery. Yeah, in the Tree of Life. I think that's that's the one in the Tree of Life when they go and yeah.
So that's kind of cool, like to have a callback to something that happened there. And I sort of thought, like, oh, okay. So is like every episode, or every couple of episodes going to be about Wicket trying to get his little, like, Ewok merit badges. And that'd be kind of cool to have a structure like that where each time, and maybe it is, but it
But
just
we're kind of back to that, right?
Yeah, I guess. It just wasn't very satisfying because, like you said, he was just running away. Like, he didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
And I don't
defeat the beat. It defeated itself.
Right.
And
I just don't understand why when you're making a show, you wouldn't make the hero like heroic.
Right.
I
not that we think he's a coward, but it was like it just it's like the story, the hero goes home to tell the story of how he defeated the beast, but like we all know that like the beast stepped towards him and then fell off the cliff kind of thing and died, but then he's claiming that he defeated it in battle, but no one else was there to see it. So like, but we all saw that the Graka ran into his own castle, causing it to fall on himself, and they're like, yeah, and it's I was like, geez, I mean, you already got the cloak from him. Now you're just leaving him there. It's like terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is. It is for sure
confusing to me of how this is supposed to be. How am I supposed to see this Graka? I guess he was supposed to be evil.
Yeah, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, but
he almost had that like, oh, I turned a friend again into Crystal, and I thought, was he being serious or was he being facetious?
The Graka was the most.
Into a big pile.
He was the most dynamic character in this whole episode.
Yeah.
I wish the Ewoks were guest starring on a Graka show.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
So I know that I know your kids have gone ahead and have seen this already. My son had never seen it. So when we were watching this, I was just putting it on, and he was like, "Oh, we're gonna watch Ewoks," and I was like, "Yeah." And I started it, and he was just like, "What am I looking at? What is this?" I was like, "Yeah, it's different. It's different in this season," and he was like,
"Yeah, let's talk about the look."
Yeah. He said that he was like, "Oh, it's more animated," and I thought that was kind of an interesting way to put it. Yeah. And I kind of see what he means because they're sort of like. Their features are softer. It feels a little bit more colored, and it's like they just turned the saturation way up. Yeah, cartoony.
Yeah. It's very cartoony rather than like. I felt like we were seeing like moving paintings in the first season. Now we're just seeing like markers.
Yeah, and I don't
like mostly brown markers.
I could have used more of it because, like, Chief Chirpa got a bit of a makeover. Like, he looked decidedly different to me.
Yes.
But the rest of them was sort of like, okay, yeah, that's just the character drawn in this new style, but it's not like it's not a redo of the look, And I kind of wish it was. Like, I kind of wish we had cute Ewoks and.
Well, Latara and Nisa, I felt like were the closest to their original characters.
Yeah. That's true.
To the at least a season 1, like
Right.
they stuck out to me as like, oh, they're very much the first season. You know what I was looking for the whole time too, like red Ewoks.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then there is like season 2, Wicket kind of looks red.
Yeah,
he
he
looks
does.
red to me, just like the red Ewok from the season 1. You
Yeah.
know, so I don't know. It's like that was very strange to me. Chief Chirpa was very dark brown, very
Yeah.
dark, and was pretty much monochrome brown. Like
Yeah.
he was just brown.
So
all brown,
so
head to
uninteresting,
toe,
that
one
redesign.
color.
I also was kind of being like,
Yeah.
so did Asha go back to the forest after
Asha,
like having just
yes.
been reunited?
Chuka Trock was there still. So
Was he?
He was,
Was
the one
Chuka
who,
there?
Chuka was there. Took the belt out of the box where Weechi was holding. Weechi was Weechi.
Okay.
And he's the one who put it on, or at least I can't remember if he put it on Wicket or handed it to Chief Chirpa to put on Wicket.
Wow.
But that was Chuka Trock. So Chuka Trock's like the I would say medium brown, maybe dark tan
Yeah.
colored, but he's got the red bib with the sticks, horizontal sticks running through it, and then I think like
Okay.
a skull,
Okay.
like a oral skull hanging from it. So that's him. That was when I saw that, I was like, that's Chuka Trock. They had him in there at least in the first episode.
Okay. Yeah. You know, I would say in defense of the new format, because we're also switching from 22 minutes to 11-minute episodes.
Yes.
And I would say in their defense, I feel like this script, if it was season 1, would have just been a half hour, but there wouldn't have been any more depth. It would have just been like more farting around.
Yeah.
And I
it
feel
didn't
like
seem to be that. It
no,
was just,
it was
right
kind of
on to the next thing.
it was
Boom,
lean and mean.
boom,
It was
boom.
just exactly. And I will say I did appreciate that, because I feel like most of the first season episodes, there are a few exceptions, most of them I think would have benefited from being half the length.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I think that's one positive here overall. I don't know if I would make that an Ichiwawa moment. Do you have an Ichiwawa moment locked and loaded?
Yeah, it was seeing Chuka Trock. That was my
Okay.
glimmer of hope.
Okay.
Because we open up, Chief Chirpa's voice is totally different. Everything looks totally different, and then I was like, oh, there's Chuka Trock. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
That there's something at
Okay.
least like a cool character that is, that's lasted the test of time, I guess, from the TV movies to season 1 to now season 2. I was like, okay, good. At least they're still doing that. Like they changed everything else, but at least there's Chuka Trock. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, that was my
All right.
my Ichiwawa. Like, whew. I know what yours was.
The gliders.
Yeah. Was it the gliders? Or no? Or
I
can it
did-
be the gliders anymore?
I did love seeing the gliders, but I feel like I've gone to that well too many times. No, I was actually going to give it to Graka, because I feel like, I don't know, he was such a different character type. I thought the voice work was good. I liked the whole crystal thing that was going on, even though, again, very dark. He seemed like, I was kind of like, okay, if this is the direction we're going to go in, it's a little bit more fantastical. The Ewoks are going to go and sort of face these big, adversaries or whatever. I could kind of get into that. And like I said, I like the voice work. I like the character design. I thought Graka was interesting, so he's my Ichiwawa.
Yeah, I think his character was cool too, because, and I think one thing that was very, very poignant about his character was that when he lost his cloak, the Ewoks kind of thought like, oh, everything's going to be all right, but he was like, "Arr!" And it's like, no, he's still a scary thing that can just kill you even without his cloak. So I thought that was very interesting that they were like, oh, that was cloak, and it's just like, I'm just going to defeat him, and it's like, dude, he's like 4 times your height.
Right.
He flies. Like you're not going to win against this. So like, I mean, I guess they really didn't defeat him. He defeated himself. But still, like, I thought that was very interesting that even without his cloak, the whole magic thing that they were so afraid of, that he was going to touch them, it's like, yeah, he's still going to tear you in half with his claws.
Right. Hey, you know what?
You still got to be scared.
Speaking of scary things, when Wicket in the beginning is having his like flights of fancy, thinking about how heroic he's going to be, and there's like a horde of creatures attacking him, and they're just in shadow, it's not the Dulocs. Like, I feel like that could have been the Dulocs, but it definitely isn't.
No, they went with something. I can't remember what they looked
I don't know.
like now.
They had kind of a Lord of the Rings vibe to me. They had kind of like a...
They had those purple. They had those purple things that Morag used.
Oh
Those
yeah.
like
But I was
stick leg
thinking, yeah.
purple things.
But I was thinking specifically
So
of the moment where like the mob of villains is in shadow. Like it seems like that obviously
yeah,
would be the Dulocs. So I don't know if the Dulocs are even in this season. I guess we'll have to find out as we go.
we'll have to find out. Yeah. So
Mm,
this is
I
interessante.
agree.
Yeah.
Okavark, did you have an Okavark moment?
Mine was Wicket's headdress. Like why?
Oh, that
Why
it's
make it green?
that it's green.
Whose whose idea was that?
Was it
Like to me, I was just like,
was it
you spend all
consistently
this
brown in the
time
first season?
developing this. Yeah, it's that like reddish color. So it was always the same. In the first season, it was always the same color, and I think
Hmm.
it was a little bit different than say the movies,
Yeah.
but it was closer to his original character. It's kind of like a reddish, like maybe faded maroon. I don't know. I'm not
Yeah.
very good with colors. But it is like a red color on like a light brown bear or
Yeah.
Ewok, excuse me,
Right.
not bear. But that's what he looks like, right? You know, like if you, so like a grizzly bear, like a baby grizzly bear.
Yeah.
That's kind of what he looks like. You know, his fur hasn't darkened yet. So like with the green, and they darkened his fur, and they made him have a dark green headdress. It just doesn't. It it doesn't vibe. I don't know. It just didn't look. I couldn't take him serious.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be a warrior.
I mean, it
So
does. I remember complaining in season one occasionally where it was hard for me to track who is who. And I think giving him a more prominent colored top is sort of like, oh, green Wicket. Like, I get that. But,
true.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. What's your Oka? Oh, no, that's your Okavark.
My rating, my yub nubs.
Oh, but I didn't say
Well, no,
my.
what was your Okavark?
Yeah,
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 I'm
yeah.
sorry. What was yours?
Um, I think it's the Tebow Latara scene when he's like, I liked that they had the continuity of like he's still an apprentice and like no Logray in this episode. Like, are we ever going to see Logray again?
Oh
I
yeah,
I don't know, but he's
I
like
hope so.
juggling things and Latara comes in and they all like drop on his head one after another and he's like gadoing gadoing gadoing. I hated it. It was such an
Oh,
annoying
that's what I
scene.
hated too. The slapstick noise.
Yes, yes, it was
Right.
that.
There was a ton of
Yes,
that.
yeah, I hated it.
That was
Didn't
really
like it.
irritating. Like we didn't need that. We didn't
Didn't
need
like
it. Yeah. That should have been my Okavark moment. I feel like that was
I
that
got
really
you covered.
bothered me more than the headdress. That it
I
was just
got
like,
you covered. Don't worry.
and it's just
Yep.
like no, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Yeah, boy, I don't even know how to rate it. What's your ratings right off the top?
I don't know. I was doing like a 2. I thought it was a 2.
Yeah.
It's hard to do a 12-minute or 11-minute episode, but I think there are better episodes to come. There has to be because
I
this
hope
one
so.
just didn't. It didn't work for. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm giving it too harsh of a. Maybe I should give it a 2.5 because the look bothered me. The different look bothered me. The different voices bothered me. The sound editing bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
The weak
Yes.
story bothered me. Like they didn't need to make it like they didn't need to make it stolen.
Right.
You know, they could just go, "Oh, I know of this island where there's this guy that lives and
Yeah.
turns things into crystal." It could have just been it could have just been simpler, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, oh, his cloak came off, and that's what makes
That's
him.
the key to his power
that
or
was the
whatever.
source
Yeah.
of his power,
But
you know.
you
and then,
you
oh,
hit it.
okay.
You hit it with sound editing because something about like first of all there was way less like incidental music and during the dialogue scenes and stuff there's no like wind or water sounds or anything. It just feels like a really stark quiet as like fully grown people try to make Ewok voices, and I did notice that it was odd. It was odd, the
Yeah.
sound.
You're right. There isn't those little like doo 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 doo
Yeah.
doo 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 like
Yeah.
little interludes between scenes or like chirping. They had those. They had those mice, those like flying squirrel things, at the very beginning of the episode again,
Mm-hmm.
and they colored them differently too.
You're right.
I was like, oh man, here we go. Like,
Yeah.
Even like something that we've grown to love.
Yep.
You know, at
Yep.
the very beginning of the episode, they were like I mean, they were kind of like weird white looking from the first episode. Now they looked like kind of cream colored.
Yeah.
like khaki.
Yeah, I don't. It's really hard to rate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to rate. I think especially when we're coming off of Asha, which was the season 1 finale, arguably the best episode of season 1.
Yeah, that's pretty good
and
episode.
Then that graphic novel in the last episode was so good and did such a good job of kind of like making it seem cohesive that to come into this, I'll be kind and say a 3 because I did like Graka and I felt like the 11-minute format suited the story. So I'm going to say 3 and hope that we go up from there.
Oh, good. Yeah, good. I think I'll do my 2.5.
Okay.
I think that's
look at that.
For me.
We earned a star.
Yeah.
We earned half a star from you. Anyway, well, the fun has only just begun here on This Endorian Life as we dive into the all-new Ewoks Season 2. And next week we'll be covering Season 2, Episode 1B, The Wish Plant. We'll see. We'll see.
I wonder if these are going to connect like some of them did in the first... Well, I guess they are, right? Because it was released...
They were released
Wicket
together, but it's different authors and everything. So I don't think there's a lot of continuity, but we'll find out in the next episode.
Okay. Yeah, we will.
All right, see you then.
Oh man, I'll see you then. This Endorian Life was brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. You can find more about this show and others like it at our network's website, radiomeanwhile.com. Share your thoughts on this and upcoming episodes by following us on Facebook or Twitter at Endorian Life, and please rate, subscribe, and share the show wherever you get your podcasts.